Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our use case team meeting of today. We didn't have one last week because there was an in-person meeting at ONF, a very productive one. I will talk about it a little bit more later. Let me start first having a recap of ONF Connect. So the event was great. We had about 420 attendees, at least as I know of, with a pretty good turnout ratio on all the 3 days. The ODTN session, I would say, was pretty well attended. I had meetings and discussions with many people that could join the project, especially other companies such as Fujitsu and Siena. But also, I discussed in depth with the people from Sterlite. And thanks to the demo, I had some interactions with also some other companies inside ONF, inside the ONF ecosystem. Sorry, let me mute my computer. Okay, and so as I said, the ODTN session went really well. I think both from a presentation perspective during the keynote, the presentations during the session in the afternoon. I think they were very interesting. And also the demo of phase 1.0 on top of the Cassini boxes was very good. And also thanks to Dominique and Juan for putting up the demo from the Nokia labs in Paris. So that's a little bit all on my side. I don't want to go too deep into like the whole event, but if you guys want, I could share more, or if you guys have any questions about it, I am most certainly able to reply. Or Karthik, Dominique, whoever was there, Hiroki, if you want to add something, just please feel free to do so. No comments?
Nothing from my side.
Okay.
Me either.
Hi all, this is Arturo.
Hey, Arturo. We're just having a small recap of the ONF Connect. Just saying that the ODTN session was pretty good and the demo went pretty well. I think they gathered interest for the project, so it's good. It's very good.
Perfect, then you can continue.
Yeah, exactly. And both in terms of new companies coming and also both for phase 1.0 with Transponder and phase 1.5 with the OLS. I will share the slides as soon as they are available and the recording of my session and anybody's session who, whenever they are ready, we are ready for uploading them. I don't have a time frame, but they will be uploaded pretty soon. Also, for anybody who is a member company, I would like to advise you to do the reference design review. Let me actually put it here in the document. I have to do it R&D review for members. So if you're a member of ONF, you can now revisit and review the ODTN reference design document. I know Dominique had some issues getting to the document. Were those resolved, or Sim did not reply to you yet?
I didn't have a reply yet. However, I came back yesterday evening very late, and I didn't have time to come back to connect to the reference design document. But no, I didn't get any feedback yet.
Okay, then let's do this. I'll add I'll add the link over there to the wiki page. And if you guys want, if you guys try it, you're a member and you try it out and it doesn't work, let me know. I'll make sure to see Kasim and make sure that it works for every member on that side. So send me an email. So the reference design was good. I have some things that I have to do, like updates and things like that, but I will take care of them. There was a pretty good response to us possibly collaborating with the TIP project, so I will pursue also on that side. Regarding the OFC, so as you probably have seen in the email, I'm very happy to announce that we got accepted for OFC, both in the demo zone, and I also have an invited paper on optical disaggregation where we'll talk about ODTN. So that's great news. And so I will be at OFC the week of March, the first week of March, when OFC is going to be held. I'll maybe try and see if we can have an in-person meeting on everybody who's there. Might put up a poll to see who's going to attend OFC and make sure to see if there is an opportunity to have a meeting over there. The plan for the demo still stays the same, so transponders and OLS from ADVA, or whoever else is going to step up. I'm still in talks with Infinera and Juniper. Let's see what they lead. So that was OFC. Any questions? Okay. Then, if not, let me jump ahead and talk about the recap of the in-person meeting on the 3rd of December. So that was a very good meeting. We met up at ONF offices. It was very well attended. You can see actually the meeting agenda here with a lot of notes that were taken. So I'll make sure the link is in here, and everybody can go and take a look. There are a few action points, especially that I need to take care of, and some of them were already translated in action points and Jira tickets, so I will talk about them later. But in general, there was a very good, very healthy and good discussions among very many different points of the ODTN project, and also looking ahead for phase 1.0 and phase 1.5 and phase 2.0. For phase 1.5, we delved deep into the integration between the OLS and the transponder, with discussion about power and wavelength configuration, and we reached an agreement where we will need to tune the power on the transponder too, at least in the first stage of phase 1.5. So I will have to come up with a document for the configuration of the power and an architecture for that. We need to put together the bill of materials for the labs. I have to start a documentation about the QA, and then there was a very good discussion about phase 1.5 onwards after the demo, where we would start and we would need to start looking at optical impairments inside the ONOS platform to provide a better end-to-end path and better path computation decisions inside ONOS itself. This would require integration and extension of ONOS as it is right now, and we'll have to check about it. There was also a very good discussion during the reference design review about the proper API for phase 2.0. I will share that when the time comes, meaning when 2.0 is going to approach. We also discussed about TAP integration with specifics on 2.1.1 release, so we're going to talk about that later. If you're interested, please go and read the notes that we have taken, and I'm going to make sure that the registration, it was all recorded, is going to be updated to the drive. It's a long meeting, it's like 3 hours, but you can maybe go and jump to pieces that you're most interested in according to the agenda. Any questions?
I have a question concerning the phase 1.5. I was wondering, because Arturo sent on Monday, previous Monday, December 11, a sort of document, slides for discussion. I'm wondering if there are some ongoing discussion on this proposal from Arturo, And my feeling is that the interaction between the ODTN controller and the OLS controller will also depend on the behavior of the transponder under the control of the ODTN ODTN controller. It means that there may be some, I should say, parameters that has been mentioned, for example, indicated in the slide of Arturo that that depends how they are configured at the transponder level, meaning that some parameters may not be available over R from different transponder version or from different transponder vendors, and this might impact, in fact, of the interaction between the two controllers, the OLS controller and ODTN controller.
Sure. We can. So why don't we do that? Since that is. So I believe that discussion would have to be considered after phase 1, meaning after the OFC demo, because for the OFC demo, we're not considering those parameters we discussed. So why don't we do that? I still have to go through a lot of things that we discussed about during the in-person meeting, because as you know, I was very busy with the conference, so I couldn't go through them. I'll make sure to upload that slide, put it up, and send an update on that, and also maybe a compiled version of the notes of the in-person meeting by the end of the week, so we can discuss them also next week. One important thing for the implementation that we came up with during the in-person meeting is that the OLS port needs to be mapped to an OMS port in ONOS. As for now, they're mapped to an OCH port. So I would need to discuss with probably Ramon and a few other folks on how exactly that change can happen, or and what are the consequences in our current implementation. So that's something that we need to do. Okay.
Andrea, just a comment. We could make let's say, a short meeting for that specific purpose, as you know, this is something that impacts the development that we are doing in Telefonica regarding the port discovery, and I think that it's something that we need to try to agree on as soon as possible. So from our side, we will be willing to have a follow-up on this specific topic, I don't know, during this week, maybe Thursday or Friday, just to discuss specifically that with the people that are involved, Ramon, or maybe someone else that are directly involved from the development.
Yes, most definitely. Let me do that. I'll set up a meeting. I don't know if it's gonna be in European or American time frame, because if we want it this week, I'm pretty booked in American time frame, so I might do it on a European time frame. But I don't know. It's gonna be by the end of the week, and I'll try to pull in at least Arturo, Ramon, and the people from ADVA in order to better understand all those details. But I'll make sure to send the invite to anybody, and anybody who wants to join can join. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thanks. Yes, that is definitely important. Arturo, in the meantime, if you want, I mean, you were there, but if you want to share it, there are the notes about that discussion in this document. I think it's, yeah, there. So there are a few comments in here that also Karthik did a few comments on that. So
I will review them. Maybe I can try to build a slide with the current possibilities in ONOS, and maybe try to start from there in the discussion. Also trying to gather the comments that you and that are here, and also in the mails that we exchanged about this topic before between Ramon and me.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Arturo. If you could do that, that would be awesome. I think I have an idea on how it would be done in the implementation of ONOS itself. It's pretty straightforward. We would just need to augment a few places. But Ramon and Alessio are more familiar with those intent places that we would need to augment, so I will make sure to include them in the call. Okay. Having said that, next step. TAPI 2.1.1 with all the bug fixes that we discussed in the previous meetings. Karthik, do you want us give an update on that?
Yep. So 2.1.1, the main bug fix was that we provided RPC arguments in the photonic media for TAPI connectivity RPCs. Right? So that's the main bug fix. Apart from that, there was some minor one regarding tabs and spaces. It's not really an issue. And another major fix was to the updates to the TAPI RI. So reference implementation, now that it's working. So you can actually retrieve the topology and look at it, look at the TAPI topology, and I can show it to you right now if you have the time. But apart from that, there were no fixes. The TAPI RI still needs to be updated to demonstrate actually creation and deletion of connectivity service. So that is not there as a feature, but there is nothing that would stop it right now from anybody working on that.
Okay, sure. If you have a demo, I will.
But the only bug fix was actually adding the arguments, RPC arguments for connectivity.
Yeah, and also the tabs instead of the spaces instead of the tabs.
The tabs and so on were, I don't know, was it an issue in ONOS?
So no,
it's more like editorial.
Just a matter of check style. That
Right.
the preference in many open source projects due
Right.
to the non-consistency utilization of tabs in different like in different operative systems, OSs, it has been to go for all spaces in any given file. So on Gerrit, when you do a review of existing files, it actually shows up that there is a tab instead of a space, and that so I picked that up and I said, oh, then maybe it's better to change them to spaces. So that was
sure, we can change it. I mean, we agreed to use 3 spaces instead of tab in the TAPI call, in the TAPI meeting last week. So we will be using 3 spaces for indent instead of tab.
Okay, perfect. Then yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. That's pretty much resolved. Only, of course, we'll update the tool and stuff.
Okay. So I've seen yesterday that there was an update to all the file versions, so we can go ahead and pull them into ONOS, the Yang file version.
Right.
We can pull them into ONOS for version 2.1.1. Okay. If you have a demo of RI, I would be glad to see it.
Right. I can. Yeah. Can you make me the presenter? I can just show you. It's fairly simple.
Yes.
Let me do that. I can show you what I have.
Done. You can see it.
So you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if you bring in TAPI Git and you import the projects into Eclipse Papyrus or Eclipse, you will see like there are 4 projects, one related to UML models, one related to Open API specs, one related to Yang, and other one related to RI. So the RI itself, it's basically the key structure is that there is this database folder, and then there is Flask server, Python client, and the Flask templates and POM file you can ignore. That's basically I committed in for my convenience. I'm using this Flask templates to generate these Flask server stubs from the photonic media, right? So, but this is not expected to be executed every time. So basically, you see that I'm just getting the photonic media from the OAS folder from the one level up, and then I'm generating the TAPI server stubs. But I don't expect that to be run. Now, the README sort of gives you a high-level view of what it is. So there's a link to the Open API generator. And the Open API generator is different from the Swagger generator because the Swagger generator is something owned by a company, right? Even though it's open source, it's not really community driven. While Open API generator is a community fork of the Swagger generator, and it's more active and it's more, I would say, very fresh, because you can see that there are like updates every day happening on this fork. So my personal recommendation is to stop using Swagger generator and move to Open API. There may be some growing pains, but like I had at least in the Flask server, they did some commits where they basically removed some things in the templates, which was causing problem for me. So I had to customize the templates for my purpose. It's just only one line fix, but still, there may be things like that you may run into if you go to the community-driven fork. But so the Flask server itself was generated by the Open API generator, and there are the models, and there are a whole lot of model files generated. But really, I only work on is the controller, right? The code changes are only in the controllers. And if you take this TAPI common, this is generated. The stubs are generated. I don't implement all the APIs. You see, there are a lot of APIs. I only implement the key ones, and the ones that are implemented has been listed here, right? And for now, only implemented the getters. So you have all the get APIs from the data tree, and the post operations, which are basically gets, but done as a post, because these are RPCs. The RPCs get mapped to /operations path, and these two are to be done, like create connectivity and delete connectivity service. So right now I'm working on that. It's not in 2.1, but it will be in 2.2. Probably much earlier than 2.2, but it is probably going to be in the next snapshot. So this is the structure more or less. And the TAPI Python client is very, very, very simple. It's only like one page of code, right? This is all it is. 10 lines, about 70 lines, but ignoring everything. This is the client, right? And even the server, the actual code in the server is very little. So the way it works is when you run the TAPI servers, you can run as many TAPI servers as you want. You give the port that you are running it in the command line and the database you want to use, right? So for now, the TAPI ODU needs to be updated. So that's a work in progress. But the OLS and transponder network database has been updated. And I'll show you what it looks like soon. So right now in this scenario, I'm running separately the transponder server and the OLS server separately, right? So I'm running the transponder on the 8081. And if you look at it, look into this folder, basically there is a context.json, and I'll soon be providing connection and connectivity service. So for a given connectivity service request, I will be actually like creating JSON database files for the connections, and I'll be loading into context. So that's how I'm doing. So everything is fake, right? There is no real processing on the server. All it's doing is for a given service, it look up a appropriate ID'd connection files and load that into the context. And the same for OLS. So for every service, there is a corresponding set of JSON response files, if you can think of that in the simplest sense, right? And also, like I launched the OLS server on 8082, and the client is simple. You can give any number of ports that you want. So it works off kind of like an orchestrator, because we want to visualize what we are doing. So as long as this server databases have some common SIPs, you can string them together. So I give both the port numbers. You can have any port numbers. And this is what the database looks like. So what you see in the blue is the service interface points. The ones in the purple are the node edge points. So this is keeping with the TAPI color convention. And the nodes are kind of orangish. Right now, like I said, I don't show the connections, but once you provision the connections, you should be able to see connections on this. Like you will see the connectivity service endpoints, you'll see connection endpoints, and you will see connections, and you will see end-to-end connections. But this is the topology used. So if you see this, there are like transponder domains, like 3 transponders. I use the abbreviation TPD for transponders. And the center one is the OLS domain. So it's not really line system. There is kind of a ROADM in middle, which is actually doing switching, because that's our basic use case. I mean, Our TAPI use case is not a plain line system, so it has a branch because we want to at least demonstrate simple things. So, and the service interface point is the one that on this simple code on the client, it relies that the service interface point IDs are same from both the transponder controller and the OLS controller, and it matches them, right? But it doesn't have to be SIP IDs. It could be any attribute in the SIP that you can use to match, like between those two handoff points. So, but this is what I have right now. But soon I will be provisioning the connection so that when you send a connectivity service request file, you will see the connection appear on this. Any questions? We best deal this as questions rather than me talking.
No, it's really good. It actually looks great. Just as a personal way of retrying this, these instructions are saved somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. So you start with the base README. So I put simple READMEs. Again, it's not very detailed. The README and TAPI tells you what is implemented. And then there's a README in the client, which is fairly simple. I tested with 1804 LTS. And basically for the UI, I mean, the client, I'm using network fix library on top of matplotlib, fairly trivial. And on the server, again, there are instructions. The Docker file doesn't work. I need to do slight changes. It's the old one. So I need to do slight updates. I just forgot about that. So don't use Docker. You can easily patch it yourself. Basically, the old Docker file did not assume any input, but now I parameterized both the port and the database. But to run the flash server, again, all you need is Python and just, right. And this is how you launch. You can launch as many servers.
Okay.
And don't try launching ODU. ODU, I need to update.
Okay.
So the ODU database is out of sync. But
okay, yeah, that's great.
And I've not updated talks and so on, right? This was all like very old, so don't use any of those other stuff. So I removed those instructions here, but I left the files for my reference.
Yeah, that's great. I'll try it out, and I'll see. So I'll try it out and test it with ONOS basically, and see at least that needs to start and everything like that. So thanks, Kartik. Can I take back the presentation rights?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Can do that.
Main screen share. There it is. Okay. Thanks. WRI put link to instructions. Okay, so now that we're there, let's go to the Jira stories. So a few things got updated. I merged 7828 from Ramon. There was a full Cassini integration from Hiroki that was merged yesterday and today. So that included an updated version of the OpenConfig models as per the ODTN RD document. So the versions that are now in what you see in OpenConfig-ODTN Yang models, those are the ones that we request from the RD. And those are the ones to which the Cassini device has been integrated inside the ODTN. Also, we pushed a driver for Cassini, which included the Cassini terminal device description discovery with the ports and the configuration, and also the transceiver implementation to create the logical channel for the cross connection. So, Hiroki, anything you want to comment on this?
Thank you for introduction, and yeah, towards the ONF Connect demonstration, we were done everything, but to be honest, the current implementation of the Cassini driver is just a temporary solution, and to provide the demonstration in time of the ONF Connect. So we should consider about and discuss the detail of how to design the mapping or translate to the OpenConfig model and update the driver implementation and about the line side and client side cross connection, and also the optical media layer parameters. That's the next action about this Cassini integration.
Okay, thanks for that. Just one quick question. Can you take point on this, in the sense that can you take point starting a document or thinking about the exact solution that we will need to do, and have a proposal for us?
About the Cassini box?
Yes, I mean the future action points.
Okay, got it. Yes.
Okay, thanks,
I'll do that.
Okay. Then also we merged the extension of the optical connectivity intent with the suggested path from Alessio, so thanks for that. That's now in the code base. So now let's go to the in progress stories. I have my own to define the use case, the power configuration, and other things that we have discussed in the face-to-face meetings and stuff like that. So I'll keep those. I want to seek an update from Arturo on the device description discovery for the OLS. I know there is a patch. I just wanted to know what is the state of, or if you have any updates.
Yeah, we have been working on it, but unfortunately we didn't manage to have it ready for today. Hopefully tomorrow we can try to submit a patch. Basically, we have tried to address all the comments that they were put in the review of the previous patch, and there were some missing points that it was unclear, but we will mention them in the commit message, and also it is commented in the code. I think that together with this new patch that probably we will be able to commit tomorrow, or yeah, I think tomorrow afternoon, and the meeting that we may have by the end of this week, I think that we can close the first part of this part of the device discovery. I think that is not really far from to be completed.
Okay, thanks for that. That's great to know. It's great information, and yeah, I think that that's the first great step towards the OFC demo. So yeah, I also started putting together a plan for testing and integration for the OFC demo, which is my task. Where is it? Here. 7837, this is mine. For the plan for OFC. It's a long-lasting task. It's been started since when I started the demo proposal, so I'll keep that. I don't think Ramon can give us an update on this because he's not on the call, as Roberto thankfully pointed out. So I'll just keep it for now. I am currently also in the process of making sure that the 2.0 release is a baseline for the future development, as we discussed in the past. I've tested single instance and apparently works fine. I was today in the process of rewriting some of the netconf provider because of the null session being issued to the drivers before. A call issued to the drivers before the session was there, so there was a null pointers in some cases that was treated differently for many drivers, and the provider was somewhat of a result of 3 years of people layering on top. So I just took the time and rewrote the whole thing, and that's also part of this task. So we have a very good 2.0 version to develop against and not waste time going forward with many changes in 2.1. Thanks for this simulator, Arturo. I still have to go and upload it. That's an action point that I have to do myself for the future. I'll do it tomorrow or today later.
I will just recommend you that you send me the request for access maybe straight after the call, as it will be faster that you will receive the
Yes.
confirmation. I mean, if you do it in the evening, maybe I will not be connected, and it could take maybe 1 day or something.
Yes, let me do that immediately there.
Thanks.
Then I have, since Hiroki has been doing the porting to TAPI 2.1, I kindly asked him to port the models from 2.1 to 2.1.1. I believe there is no real change since the mapping has already been done by Hamano, and the implementation has already been partially moved to 2.1.1 because of the needed changes that we requested. It's probably just a matter of versioning the files, bringing them into ONOS, and updating the version inside the import packages. It's not like immediately necessary, but it would be good to have before the break so we can release ONOS 2.0 with this patch. Can this be done, Hiroki? Do you think it's doable?
Yes, I'll do that in a week.
Okay, thanks for this. Then 7866. This is my own task. I plan to test the multi-instance implementation of phase 1.0 as again as part of the testing of the ONOS 2.0 release to make sure that it's proper base. I'm working towards that. I hope to get it done by the end of this week. Okay, some new. Then a few comments that I want to make. So this one, 7826, goes after the 7825. So when that is done, I think Arturo and Diego will start implementing this particular the flow rule programmable. That also depends on the discussion we're gonna have for the OMS OCH ports. And so that is really the key point that I need to address this week. Then I have two new tasks. One is 7864. Just for those who haven't been at the in-person meeting, a key and important point that has also been brought up to this from this group in the past is that we would like to have some QA testing of ODTN in order to have regression testing, black box testing of the whole system, and things like that. Thus, I will have to start a document with that, with the requirements and how we would be able to plug in both from a virtual perspective and from an implementation perspective. I didn't have the time to talk to our QA people because of ONF Connect last week, but I'll make sure to maybe have a call with them this week, or at least have an exchange of emails with them to see how we can integrate this in the ONOS system testing. And it's probably going to be done with an emulated OpenConfig emulator for the transponder, and Arturo's or Karthik's OLS TAPI emulator, depending which one is best for the QA environment. That would enable us to basically issue a request of TAPI from the northbound and see that ONOS properly translates it to OpenConfig in the southbound, that the applications we need are there, that the whole set of pieces is there, and that nothing breaks because of some commit. So that's 7864. 7865 really stemmed from the discussion we had at an in-person meeting, and I have signed this to myself just because I want to start the discussion, but it really also brings back the slides from Arturo, the discussion that we had in person with Dominique, and some of the learnings that we had at the reference design discussion, and also the input that we had from Karthik, from the TAPI team, and from Neil, from Adva at the in-person meeting. So that is what 7865 is about. There are a few other things that came out of the in-person meeting which I will need to address, which is an important and interesting point that is about certification of APIs that we use. The TAPI team does some sort of integration testing and interoperability testing, out of which they come out with a white paper. But during the in-person meeting, it was said that it would be great to have a sort of certification for APIs, in the sense that we could build a module that enables us to test the functionality of a given device, being an OLS or being a transponder, and tell us if it's capable. If it's capable or not of receiving the calls that ONOS is going to make in order for it to be integrated in ODTN. So some of you might be familiar with what ONF has as OF test. So this OF test is really similar, is really something that the guys at Trellis put together, and so not Trellis put together, but it was an existing project that we internally at ONF mainly use for Trellis, which you plug in a device into your management network. This brings up a very thin controller and makes a few open flow calls to it, to the device from the controller, and it checks that the proper groups and flows and things that are needed for Trellis are installed. I was thinking that it would be great to have something like that for ODTN and OpenConfig and TAPI. So I'll start a document also about this API certification. I know that there have been works that have been done at Telefonica regarding this testing of OpenConfig. So it would be great if those could be brought into this effort. And I know that there is also some people from Jabil company that reached out to me during ONF Connect, and they were asking about our interest in doing something like this, because they are in they launched the certification brigade, which is exactly what this is about. Anybody has any comments on it? Any thoughts?
From our side, I think that is a really good idea. I mean, I think that is a valuable part of the project that we are carrying out, this certification of the interfaces. Just maybe I would like to know a little bit more about which are the proposal that you have in the terms of, I don't know, if you are planning or to upload a kind of module, open source, that is able to, I mean, be publicly download and run the test by anyone that you want to certify their own hardware or solution, or if it is going to be something more like, I don't know, a battery of tests designed by ONF and that are going to be, I don't know, somehow more run internally within the ONF. This is, I mean, I need to know a little bit more about your expertise, which is the kind of certification process that you are proposing in order to understand it better. But from our side, for sure, we will be interested in participating and contributing.
Yes. So at least from my point of view, it would be interesting to have this tool as an open source tool, as OF Test is, hosted under the ODTN, ONF umbrella. Definitely, I don't know exactly the plans from Jabil. I will need to talk to them. I have started an email thread. I hope there will be some replies to it and see where that leads, also from their point of view. From my point of view, it needs to be open source. So that would be my requirement, that you can download this and test it, and then you're good to go. Okay.
Right, Andrea.
Okay.
Andrea, just one point, right? When
Yes.
you say certification, people are looking for some kind of certificate from ONS. So I think it would probably be needed to be more controlled by ONS, even if it's open source. I guess they would have to either do themselves or have a lab or someone run the test host. I mean, like actually the code might be open, that's okay, but run the test against whatever the vendors apply for the certification and provide a certificate saying that it's compliant. Right. So that's the thing. It's not so much as self-validation, but more about a stamp from ONF ODTN or something. It complies with the ODTN after design or something.
Okay, so there are two sides to
Right. I mean, when you say certification, that's the expectation. Otherwise, it's just validation code.
Yes. So there are two sides to this. One is the validation code, which obviously you can run wherever you want, and that's one side of it, and that's the thing I would like to have open source. Then, if we decide to go for a full certification from ONF, I need to talk with the Jabil people because they're already doing it for CIBA in some sort of form. And so that would be an unrelated thing. But I guess this is interesting in both terms. One, because we would create this code that you would be able to run and test your device wherever you want. And if you don't care about the certification, just whatever, you can run it with ODTN. There is no need for it to be certified. But if you care about the certification of the APIs, then you need to come to us with the certification brigade and pull that inside this whole certification progress and set of things. And then at that point, we will need to run the tests. So we will. I still have to run through that process myself and better understand it with Claudio, who is the responsible of Jabil, at least who reached out to me. So at least that side is one thing, but I think the code is also something very interesting that we want to open source. So I'll make sure to have those two things. Okay. So that was all on my side. Any other questions or points that you guys want to raise? Okay. Then, if not, thanks everybody for joining. I will, as usually, upload this to YouTube, and I will make sure to have these action points that we discussed. So I will reach out for the certification. I will set up the meeting with Arturo and whoever anybody else who is interested to make sure that we are on the same page on the OMS OCH port details. And I would ask everybody who has a set of Jira tasks to attend to them. I actually have to create two more that slipped my mind. One is for Juan and Dominique to start looking into the update to the Nokia driver for phase 1.5, meaning the flow rule programmable. I need to do that. And I also, now since this call, I have to add a one for Hiroki for the proposal for the future Cassini steps and integration. And yep, that's about it. So thanks everybody, and we'll see each other next week.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.